we'll go through how to do a little bit of photo retouching. So here's the basic model, and you're going to do another 2 pictures of your choice, so that's 3 in all to do it. Okay, here we have a very beautiful lady, but she's not as beautiful as she could be. So what we're going to do is duplicate the layer, and we're going to call this blur. So back I go. So you can go to layer, duplicate layer, or you can just press Control J, J for John. So Control J. Okay, I'm going to double click, and I'm going to ask you to go through the renaming layers, otherwise you'll forget what is what. Okay, so we're going to blur this layer a little. We're going to go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur with a radius of 5, Soft Light Mode, 75% transparency. It'll come out looking like this. So up to Filter and down to Blur, and then we want Gaussian Blur, and the radius, if you remember, was 5 pixels. Looks really blurry. Don't worry though, because when you go over to your layers channel, and if you can't see your layers, go up to Window and then click on Layers. So on the layer palette, okay, pull down the blend mode to soft light, and then we're going to make it about 75% transparency. Okay, and that brings a better definition, and it recovers the color a little. So here's the before, and here's the after. Okay, nice little effect. And then above that layer, we're going to have a new layer, and we'll call that new color, and we're going to fill the color with 75, 25, 25, and then again it's going to be soft light mode with 75% transparency. So we're going to go to Layer, New Layer, which is here. Okay, double click in the words Layer 1, and we're going to call this New Color. Alright, and then we're going to fill this color with the paint bucket tool. So I click on the foreground color, and down at the bottom in here I'm going to make this 75, 25, 25. Now it looks really brown. Don't worry. It's going to look horrible, in fact. Here's the paint bucket tool. If you can't see it, paint bucket, it might be under the gradient tool. So paint bucket tool, and then you're going to dump that brown yucky shade all over her. Okay, so we're going to make this now soft light. There, it just gives a kind of a hue to it. And again, I'm going to reduce the transparency down to about 75. So we've got a nice effect there. I'm going to click. That was the original color, and this gives it a kind of warm glow, brings up the color of her hair a good bit more. In fact, let's go back to the original one. There we go. So we're making differences. Okay, and now we're going to work on the eyes and lips section. So new layer, and name it lips, and then we're going to zoom in, and we're going to paint the lips with 75, 25, 25. So you're going to mark with a thin paintbrush and then fill with a wider one. So here's the new layer. Click, double click, and we're going to call this lips, luscious lips. And then we're going to zoom in and pull this out so we can see what we're doing. Alright, and then I use Control plus to zoom in, and I want to focus on her lips. So I click on the zoom tool, and then I draw a square around her lips. Yikes! Now we've still got that color set. Alright, so we're going to have a thin paintbrush. This is your paintbrush. Brush tool, click. Very thin. normal, very thin. That looks too big, doesn't it? I'm going to make that even smaller. I'm going to make it maybe 3. There's no right or wrong for this. All you're doing is outlining. I'm going to go around like this, following the contours all the way around, and then what you're going to do is take a thicker brush stroke and just dab the color inside it. Now, she may look like a drag queen, but remember that blend mode on the layers palette? We're going to give it a softer look. Up I go, and follow her lips exactly with this, alright? So far so good. And now we're going to make it a bigger brush stroke. Let's see, 12. 12's too big for me, but that's because I'm zoomed way in. So whatever fits there, that looks like I could use that, doesn't it? And I'm going to go click all the way around. Avoid her teeth if you can. And I'm just clicking. I'm going to stop the video, and you can come back when you're done too. So you should look something like this so far. And then the layer blend mode is going to be soft light, and magic lips will appear. So up to make sure that you're on the lips layer, and you want soft light. There you go. Now Control minus to zoom out. Looking better, looking better. So let's see, click, gone to another color. And obviously at this point that's where you change the color. If you wanted her to have red lips or raspberry lips, so on and so forth. And you can see that there's a small clear point at the left corner lips. So what we're going to do is on the background layer, alright, you're going to click the clone stamp tool at about 50 to 35%. So press the Alt key and click the mouse to center the imperfections. So back I go, and it's going to end up looking like this. So you've got to be on the background layer or else it won't work. Because if you think about it, there's nothing much on the top layer, lips. There's only brown on the bottom layer. So we want the stamp tool, and here is our stamp tool, clone stamp tool, click. And I'm going up to brush size. That looks about right. You see the circle? Okay. So what we do is Alt key and then click the mouse to say I want it to look like this. So press Alt and I click the mouse. And then I click in here. Alt click. I forgot to Alt click. What did I do? Alt click. There we go. And that filled it in. That cloned it in. She's looking more luscious by the second. So the lips are ready. Now we're going to go for the eyes. And we're going to give her blue eyes. So new layer, name it eyes. And then get the elliptical marquee tool around one of our irises. Oh, this should say pupils. I'll leave it with, and then you're going to go up to selection, transform, and adjust. Okay. So I'm going to do a new layer, and I'm going to call it eyes. Now remember, I was on the background layer, so my new layer has come in immediately above the background, so I'm going to drag eyes, and I'm going to drop them above lips. Okay, it's just drag and drop. Then I'm going to zoom in to the eyes. There we go. Then I'm going to get the elliptical marquee tool. If you get the rectangular one, you get the flyout, you want elliptical marquee tool. Okay. And you're going to draw an elliptical selection. Okay. But I haven't got all of it. So I need to go up to select, and I want to transform the selection. And that allows me to move so I get as much of the eye as possible. I'm pulling down. Take your time, because otherwise you're going to end up with strange shapes around the eyes. And I'm holding the control key, and that allows me to move in at an angle too. Alright, then enter to embed, click, and now you have a selection. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to make the foreground color white. To do that, I switch around so white is now here. Okay, click, is good, it's definitely white. And then I get the paint bucket. Actually, you can do paint bucket, or you can just do Alt Delete, and that's going to fill the selection. Alt Delete. Yay! Alt Delete. Okay, now with the elliptical marquee tool, here in case we have people who aren't good with English, Alt Delete to fill. With the elliptical marquee tool, drag the selection to the other eye and fill it with white. So it ends up looking like this. And then deselect by Control D. So there is the elliptical marquee tool. Okay. And I click in the inside. I drag over. There we are. I put it over here. Okay. So now we have two selections, and then Alt Delete to fill with white. And at this point we can deselect. Control D to deselect. Okay, so what we're going to do is load the selection. So you go select, load, and then we're going to do image, adjust, hue, saturation, and I'll talk you through it. So select, load the selection, and what this will do is make both of those eyes, the white blobs, they're going to be selected now. That's how you get both of them. There we are, see? Marching ants around two irises. And now we're going to color her eyes. I'm going to talk you through how to do blue. At this point, when you do two other models, this is where you would change the color. So you go up to image, and then you want adjustments, and you want hue and saturation. Control U brings that up, and you should learn some of these shortcuts because you'll be in there a lot. Control U. Now first of all we click the colorize button, okay, and then to get blue, I happen to know, or I'm looking at my sheet of paper, that it tells me it's 220, 100, minus 20. Okay, so you think that is not a normal shade of blue. No way is that a normal shade of blue. Control D to deselect. Then take this layer to, you've got it, soft light. Okay, there we go. Is that better? So here we go from here to here, much more intense. And you can adjust the transparency if you think she looks a bit too strange altogether. You can end up with an almost violet color. Whenever you're happy, I'm delighted. And there she is. So here's one that I worked on. Here's another with a different shade of blue, and this time she's got raspberry eyes. And then to hand in, please do a before and after with a thumbnail showing. So you're going to do 3 altogether. There's one before, here's another one, and you've got the little thumbnail. Copy paste onto your file, and there's the before, and that's the one I've just worked on for you. So that is how to do basic model retouching.